Hello, my friends. Today we have an Indian novel by the author, Vikram Seth, titled A Suitable Boy. It is one of the longest novels written in English and one of the most famous works in contemporary Indian literature. In the quiet city of Brahmapur, resting on the banks of a sleepy river and waking to the echoes of the call to prayer and temple bells, spring had begun to send its fragrances into the air. The streets were adorned with colours. It was the wedding day of Savita Mera, Lita's elder sister. While people gathered around music and laughter, Lita sat at the edge of the balcony, reading a poem by John Donne, not knowing why she felt something in her heart was about to change. Mrs. Rupa, her mother, was a woman who never stopped organising and worrying. She had one sacred mission: to marry Lita off to a suitable young man. She used to say, with unwavering conviction, "Marriage is a woman's safety, her fortress in this world. A girl must not choose as her heart desires." But Lita was different. Chapter 1. Forbidden Love. At Brahmapur University, where the trees were older than the buildings, she met Kabir Durrani. A tall young man with dreamy almond eyes, he played cricket and quoted Tagore. They met by the English poetry shelf, and he smiled at her as if he had known her in a past life. Their conversations began quietly, talks of literature and poems he would write that shook her to her core. In an unexpected moment, the meeting turned into something deeper. They spoke of life, rebellion, and the future. It only took a glance between them to feel as though the world had paused. But when Kabir realised he could no longer live without Lita, he came to her on a rainy day and said, "You are a storm at heart, Lita. Don't let society shape you into a woman who stops dreaming." Lita felt her heart flutter, but her family rejected the love. Kabir was Muslim, and her Hindu family could not accept such a difference. When she told her mother, Rupa's words dried on her tongue. She didn't scream, but said in a voice cold as steel, "Will you throw yourself into the fire? Have you forgotten what happened during partition? We lost everything. We won't lose our daughter too." That evening, Lita sat alone in her room reading a Shakespeare poem. Her hands trembled in the cold wind as she remembered Kabir's words. "You are a storm at heart, Lita." She watched him fade from her life, knowing he had left a mark deep inside her, but also knowing that memory might become a heavy burden. Chapter 2. The 3 Suitors. Then the suitors began arriving, as if fate had placed Lita at a crossroads. Amit, the Bengali poet, who wrote her verses and praised her intellect but never truly touched her pulse. He was an artist who did not believe in boundaries between mind and heart, yet his lack of emotional depth kept him distant from real connection. Hari Mishra, the simple government clerk who never uttered words of love but carried a quiet respect and a warm patience. He was the kind of man one could rely on in hard times. As Lita considered her choices, she felt a certain emptiness. Yet life moved on, and social pressure kept mounting. One evening, Lita sat in the garden with Amit, who spoke about his new poetry and dreams, but he noticed her distant, doubtful gaze. He asked, with visible confusion, "You're looking for something more, aren't you?" She replied sadly, "Yes, but I cannot live it here, in your world." Chapter 3. Confusion and Decision. On the evening before her wedding, Lita found herself talking to Hari by the riverbank. His voice was calm, as always. "I know love isn't easy, but over time, we'll discover together what makes life whole." A moment of silence passed. Then Lita said, tinged with painful memories, "I can't promise you much, Hari, but I promise to give everything I can so that we stay strong together." This was the vow that laid the foundation of their marriage, a union not built only on passion, but on commitment and the desire to build a shared life. As Lita continued her journey towards stability, she realized that love did not always have to be a storm. It could be a quiet spring that nourishes the soul. Through the people in her life, she learned that inner peace does not come from one person alone, but from self-understanding, sacrifice, and the ability to live in harmony with the world. Chapter 4. The Wedding. On her wedding day, the joy felt different. It was real, far from fantasy. And in that moment, Lita knew this was her choice, the difficult decision she had made with both heart and mind. As she entered the hall, she felt as though all the moments of life had gathered there. Everyone was looking at her, but she was looking at Hari, standing beside her, holding a new vow. In his eyes was the promise she had made, that they would stand together, not only in joyful times, but in difficult ones too. Epilogue. After the wedding, Lita knew life wouldn't always be like the stories. But with Hari, she knew the path would be stronger when built on respect and friendship, not fantasy. As the days passed, her heart began to quiet down, and she realized that life is made of small moments of love, sacrifice, and understanding. Thus, Lita's story ended. Or perhaps it began.